Hi Ed,
Hello, Guy. Thank you for having me.
it's so nice to have you on this video. For those of you who don't know Ed Adams is the CEO of Security Innovation, which is a leader in application security based out of Boston, and I should say almost a global company. Ed himself is a pioneer in application security. I feel very fortunate to have you with us today. We'll look a bit at your career. A bit later on, we will have a look at a book you have recently published. How did it all start? You can take us from the beginning.
Of course, I'd be happy to. Security innovation did start at the Florida Institute of Technology, or Florida Tech, and it was created when a nutty professor there named James A. Whittaker had an idea. Dr. Whittaker had recently written a book with one of his students. Those two had conducted a study of 10,000 software defects, and they analyzed these 10,000 security defects and then refactored them several times and got them into 19 categories. And then for each category, they devised a specific attack that would expose that class of vulnerability. And that became a white paper, and then a testing methodology, and then a book. And then Dr. Whittaker decided, gee, maybe we can make a company out of this. So he contacted me. He convinced me to join. When the company started, it was just hacking for hire, basically, what we now call penetration testing. And then the industry started to do this en masse for some of the software applications that were running digital enterprises. And the industry became more known as application security. And then along the way, one of our customers, Microsoft, had the idea that they needed to incorporate security into their product development lifecycle. And a couple of our contacts there, Michael Howard and Stephen Lipner, had written a book called the Microsoft SDL, Security Development Lifecycle. And they quite literally handed us the book and said, we want you to create scalable online training courses about the Microsoft SDL that we can use to train Microsoft architects, developers, testers, etc. So we did that. We created this training, and that launched us into the online training business. And over the past 14 years, we've continued to do those two things, and the company has grown. So that's the short history of the 22 years of security innovation.
Conclude still, it is part of the history of application security. Maybe more personally, how was that journey for you? How was that experience?
Like many people in the security industry, they got into the security industry not by purpose, but almost by accident. I went to college and I studied mechanical engineering and English literature. I studied the English literature because I love that. But I studied mechanical engineering thinking I need a job and no one's going to pay me to read Shakespeare. So I graduated, I came out, I started working in mechanical engineering. And I designed some interesting things, non-lethal weapons systems. So it was very fun projects that I was involved in. But what I really fell in love with was the software I was using to design the systems, not the systems themselves. So I started getting more and more into software, and I was able to get a job with a company called MathSoft. They made mathematical software. It was a fun job. I enjoyed it, but I realized that I knew nothing about business. So I went back to school, and I went back to school for a Master's of Business Association, an MBA, with a concentration in information technology. And that led me down the path of product management. So I got into product management for software. And then later, I got a job at a company called Rational Software. Rational Software, their products were software quality and testing products. That's how I got into the software quality space. And this is where I met Dr. Whittaker from Florida Tech. And the two of us realized that in 2001, 2002, very, very few people were talking about security as an aspect of software quality. And this is the origin of security innovation. And we were breaking some new ground. And it has taken a long time, but finally, I think more organizations than not do think about security as an aspect of software quality. But I personally started talking about that almost 22 years ago. So it's been a long journey.
I think we came to know each other and we worked together. Myself as a customer, yourself as an application security specialist vendor, I think maybe more than 10 or 15 years. In this long period of time, I should say, I also not only see the company grow, but I appreciate both the technical competence and the engaging nature of the company and its staff versus solving a problem together. So I appreciate company and of course your leadership in that sense.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks very much for sharing these insights about the early ages and your career. And I would like to also encourage all the audience to watch our video about a book Ed has published a few weeks ago, I should say. It's brand new. Again, Ed, thank you so much for sharing this part of history and this including personal history. Very fascinating.
Thank you so much, Guy. It's a great
Super.
history to be part of, and I'm very happy. Thank you for having me.